All right, fellas, welcome back here. We have an exciting special edition episode here. I came across this picture right here, and it got me thinking, what is the greatest system of all time? So I haven't really looked at it. I haven't really processed my thoughts. So we're gonna go through it here and try to figure it out. This is all opinion based. It's all personal opinion. Nothing I say is fact here, and I'm sure I'm going to contradict myself at least a couple times, but this is just right off the riff. I was like, let's make a video here. So, first one up here, we have NES versus PS3. That's already a tough call. You know me, I'm a retro gamer. So, I'm seeing like the NES, I'm seeing PS3, and I'm like, jeez. It kills me to say it, because I know NES brought a lot to the game. It really kickstarted everything back up after the Atari crash. But I gotta go. I think I gotta go with PS3. It's a really tough one to really call here. I mean, on one hand, NES brought us like Mario Brothers, Zelda, Metroid, Kirby. Wait, now I'm kind of convincing myself to go back to NES. You know what? I just changed my own mind because PS3 was good. It had online multiplayer and everything. It really brought online multiplayer to the forefront. But so did the 360 and PC. I'm gonna have to go with NES for this one. Like that NES right there. All right, now we have Genesis versus the DS. Now this is a tough one. I feel like they're all gonna be tough. I feel like I'm gonna be like, this is a tough one for every one of these because both of them hold a really strong place in my heart. I grew up with Genesis, as many of you guys know. It was the console I got right after NES, and to this day, my channel, I feel like I still do mostly Genesis games. But at the same time, the DS, and I go way back too. I used to carry this thing around religiously with me. You know, more so than the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. That I'd be like, oh, I'm going on like a long car trip or whatever. Or I'm going here for a while. I'll take that with me. But with the DS, I just brought that with me. That was like phone, wallet, keys, DS. You know, especially with the 3DS. But we're just talking about the regular DS here. I am gonna have to go with the Genesis though on this one. I do think the Genesis etches out the DS. I don't think it's even that close. Just because it's like, I don't know, Genesis games are still fun to go back to. A lot of the DS games are like shovelware. There were some good ones, and it's got backwards compatibility with the Game Boy Advance that was really good. But if you give me a bin of DS games and a bin of Genesis games, and the Genesis is sound on it alone, I am biased. I'm gonna go with Genesis on this one. Oh, no way. 360 and the Wii. Oh, that's a tough one because on one hand, the Wii is it still the best selling console of all time? It might have gotten outdone by the Switch. But the Wii really brought gaming to like old people, moms and dads, and it Wii Sports, man. And the 360, I feel like, is the same arguments I was making for the PS3. It's like, well, this is a tough one. Because again, on one hand, the Wii is filled with shovelware, but so is the 360, I guess. You know, I have most of that back. Half that bookcase is 360 games. I definitely have more 360 games than Wii games. I'm personally, I'm gonna have to go with the 360. I think the 360 was the system that I got probably the newest when it came like from release date. I didn't get it on launch or anything like that, but I think it was probably one of the newest ones. I got like when the Elite kind of first dropped, maybe like a couple months or a year after the Elite dropped, I bought it. And I went like ham on collecting at the time, not having a lot of money. Really just pick it. I feel like and the achievements, actually, that's what's going to sell. 360 is going to win because it really hooked me in with achievements. Achievements were something that I hadn't really done in any games before. Like, you know, you get like old games, collectibles, you got 101%, you know, but achievements really brought home like, look how many points I got in every game. I'm going to have to go with 360 for that. It really clicked on me, the achievements there. All right, next up we have PlayStation versus Game Boy Advance here. Now, this one's definitely going to be biased. And I apologize to everybody. Well, I don't know. My immediate gut was like, oh, Game Boy Advance, because PlayStation, I had it growing up, but I didn't have a lot of games on it. It was kind of just in my back corner. I never really, I played Metal Gear Solid way too late. I played that like, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago now for the first time. I didn't really get any of the old classics for it at the time. I had Mort the Chicken, who, mind blown, is in Pizza Tower. I was like, what the hell? And I had an Aladdin game, which I was playing on the channel. Finished that up one day. But Game Boy Advance, this is between the two of them, I liked this one a lot more. But talking about greatest console, and I'm sorry, Game Boy, I'm gonna have to go with PlayStation because it's PlayStation. It had all the polygons and everything. It was a pinnacle of third dimension there. It really brought Sony into the forefront. I'm gonna have to go with PlayStation. All right, we're halfway through the initial run here, and now we got Game Boy Color versus PS2. Now, again, I feel like this is going to be the same arguments I made for the last matchup, Game Boy Advance versus PS1. I played a lot more Game Boy Color than PS2. Once again, PlayStation's kind of in my corner. It was during the console wars, and I wasn't really big into Sony at all. I was like, oh, Sony. There's no denying PS2's grip. You know what I mean? You had like the Grand Theft Autos. You had, I don't know, God of War. You had Metal Gear Solid. You had so many like really good PlayStation 2 games. What's a Game Boy Color game where you're like, oh? I mean, they're out there. You have the Pokemon games for Game Boy Color and stuff. But I think I was more of I'm gonna lean more toward PlayStation on this one, even though I feel like I played this maybe marginally more. Gotta go with PlayStation. GameCube next. All reality though, I do think the GameCube was. I mean, this is probably my newest console. I never had a PSP growing up. They're cool, but I mean, come on, it's GameCube. GameCube is my favorite console. It's always up there with the Genesis, but GameCube is my all-time favorite. Did I already say Genesis is my favorite? It's not. GameCube's my favorite. You had Mario Sunshine on it, you had Smash Brothers on it, Kirby Air Ride on it, Metroid Prime, you had Twilight Princess, that was also on Wii, but I mean, Wind Waker, you had the Game Boy Reader on it, the GameCube and I still think the controller to this day is the best controller. Nightfire, although it was multi-platform, GameCube takes it. Hands down. Sorry, PlayStation, PSP fans. All right, next up we have N64 versus Atari. Now, again, you guys have heard me rant about this before. I don't like Atari. I think the 2600 is boring as hell. There's zero nostalgia for me. The games are beep, boop, boop, beep. N64, well, I do think is a bit overrated. I know, but Daddy Pitchforks, I think it's a little overrated because the controller was awful. The games are kind of ugly to look at now. They still got some blast games on there. You got Donkey Kong 64. You got Mario 64, Mario Kart on there. You got the original Smash Brothers, Pokemon Snap. I don't know. I think N64, easy victory. All right, we're back to challenging matchups again. Right now we have the Switch versus the SNES. Now again, as a retro gamer, my caveman mind immediately goes, well, older is better. But is it though? Because I feel like most of the games you can play on SNES, you can play on the Switch. Now, a lot of them don't have physical releases. They're digital only, which is a huge bummer. I hate that. I'm a physical release kind of guy. But I guess let's talk in terms of legacy here. The SNES was huge. The upgrade from NES to SNES was just mind-blowing. You had like these 8-bit characters here, and then Mario looked like this now. It was bonkers, where we've reached a point in technology where, like, I don't know, does the Switch really look that different from the Wii U? Like, it's a difference, but in terms of games and legacy, though, like I said, a lot of the SNES games you could play on here, but you wouldn't have them on here if you didn't have them on SNES first. So I guess I'm trying to think of what's better. I'm gonna have to go with modern on this one. And that's no diss to the SNES. It's just this is a monster of a machine. The fact that it's like a hand, you can take this anywhere. You don't have to do it at home. I think that's what's going to win it over for sure. Is it's a handheld but also a home console. Yeah, Switch wins this one. Oh boy, now we're starting to get in the nitty gritties here. Okay, NES versus Genesis. Really funny because this was a constant thing in my household. Arguing with myself, really, because nobody else was really gamers. But I grew up with an NES. You know, I had that, and then a little while later, got a Genesis, and Genesis made me tuck this away. Genesis does what Nintendo don't. Genesis does what Nintendo don't. Put the toys away. Get with Sega Genesis. I like. I'm gonna go with the Genesis for sure on this one. Put me down. All right, we got Microsoft versus Sony on this one again. The original PlayStation versus the 360. Again, I feel like this one isn't that difficult for me. I think the 360 really exploded and blew Microsoft into the stratosphere with how good the games can be. Halo 3, Fable 2, Fable 3, Gears of War. Oh, did I say Fable 3? Wait, cancel that. Cut. It had so many really awesome games on this. And PlayStation did too. Dino Crisis, Resident Evil, the Metal Gears, Ape Escape, but I gotta go with the 360 for this. This was my baby. I love the 360. Oh, no, that's an interesting matchup here now. We made the GameCube versus PS2. Now, they were both at the same time. They were games released for both consoles simultaneously. They were competing with each other, competitors with the Xbox, GameCube, and PS2. Kind of ruled the times. But, GameCube's my favorite, man. I mean, any game, any multi-platform game, you can get on this, well, most of them. And I just think their exclusives were better. Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. What else? I'm trying to look at you had Animal Crossing back there. Wario World. Come on, Wario Land. Not Wario Land. WarioWare. But you know what I'm saying. GameCube. Sorry, PlayStation fans. It's GameCube. All right, now we got N64 versus Switch. I feel like this was just like the last Switch matchup. One of them is like a legacy console, and the other one is like you can pretty much play a lot of these games on here. I'm leaning towards Switch for the exact same reasons as the SNES. It's a handheld that looks really good. You could play a majority of these on this. I'm thinking of exclusives, which doesn't really help this one's argument because again you can play it on this. But when they came out, I don't know. The controller on this is much better. I'm going with this, baby. I'm sorry. Oh boy, we are down to the final four. This one's going to be tough now. 360 versus Genesis. Now, using my last arguments, you'd think that 360 would win. I don't know though. It's tough because Genesis games have a feel that I feel like you can't get from any other games. The music in them, it's very like gritty, I guess. Even like the Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It feels techno-y and a little dirty. And I really like that. But the 360 too had I don't want to just be a fanboy and just vote Genesis for best console. I'm gonna have to go with the 360. Online capabilities, I gotta go with the 360 for the best console. Between that and the Genesis, I am sorry, buddy. I really am. Kind of look like my mustache. I miss you. I'm sorry. Oh, don't hate me. Don't hate me. 360 wins that one. Oh, you guys are killing me. Oh, this one hurts. This one's tough. Switch versus GameCube. Oh, that's a hard one. Oh my gosh. On one hand, my favorite console. You can't really play a lot of GameCube games on this, though, right? Isn't that Switch 2? Multiplayer, I think, is more fun. Oh, they're both really fun multiplayer, though. Both the controllers feel really good. Both exclusives are really good. Damn. I'm gonna have to go with the Switch. I gotta go with the Switch because you can take it with you. You know what I mean? I think that's the damn. I mean, people are gonna be like, "Well, you voted PSP out immediately," and I'm like, "I did, but these were like real games." You know what I mean? These weren't like handheld games. This is oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to go with the Switch. I am sorry, GameCube. Oh my gosh. All right, our last matchup here. It came down to this: 360 or Switch. Oh, now something I wasn't really considering until now is prices. The prices of Switch games are still expensive. Like Nintendo doesn't really lower their prices, while 360 is, as of recording now, kind of in like a slump where like the games are dirt cheap right now. I'm sure it'll, as every other console, it'll go up eventually. But Nintendo games never do that. They're always like, a game costs $60 coming out. Great. 30 years later, it's $55 now, if you're lucky. You get more pack for your punch with the 360, but I like the innovation of this. I like that, like, you can cut your controller in half, so then two people can have a controller. I like a lot about this. I like the online capabilities, the online store, but the online store in this Xbox 360 Arcade, whoa, dude, that was a time. Oh man, the DLC, the memories of just playing with friends and stuff, the achievements especially. Wow, I did not think I would come to this conclusion. First of all, that it would be down to these two. I thought for sure it'd be GameCube, maybe N64, Genesis, you know, down to these two. I'm gonna have to say that 360 is the greatest console ever made. We just knocked everything out of the park. I think it goes down to 360. All right, boys and girls, that was a bit of a different video. Let me know what you thought of that. You know, it was just kind of an impromptu thing. I was kind of bored. And I'm like, well, I saw that on Facebook. I'm like, let's see how this would play out. Yeah, but let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the future. Hasta la pasta, babies.